I'm on tonight, but really this is Miss Viglietta and Miss Agronstone. They'll be running the show. They really are, Lisa's much more knowledgeable about this than I am. She can answer pretty much all your questions. So I'm just kind of here to watch and listen. If you have any questions about the high school process, Lisa's the best person to ask questions. For me, just email me separately. I don't want to treat this like a regular PTA meeting or something like that. If it's question, unrelated to high school, just email me and I'll be sure to get back to you tomorrow. Okay. So that's it. Thanks, Alex and Lisa, for running things. And I'm going to go ahead and mute and probably turn off my camera so I'm not a distraction as well.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. So I'm going to just show a quick PowerPoint, and I'm going to try to answer all of your questions on the PowerPoint. And then at the end, if there's any topic that I didn't hit on or that you want more information about, I'll talk to you more about that. But just so you know, the general outline, I'm going to start with doing updates for 2021. So there are a few changes this year because of COVID. Then we're going to talk about the different admission methods. I'm going to show you what My Schools will look like when you actually are able to access it and teach you how to do your application. And then I'm going to save for the end the SHSAT, Audition, and students with disabilities. And so those don't really pertain to everybody. I figured I would put those at the end. So if anybody wants to log off, they can. So I'm just going to share my screen and start with this presentation. Hopefully this works. Let's see. Uh-oh. Hold on. Okay. How do I move this thing out of the way? Oh. Okay, let me get this in here. Okay, so how come I can't click the next screen, Paul? Sorry, guys, 1 second. Okay, perfect. Okay, so everybody should have received their high school directory. If you didn't, you can get a paper copy from school, and you can also access it online at here, schools.nyc.gov/hi. The SHSAT test prep and the directory are both in the same book this year. So if you need either book, they're both in the same book. There are basically 3 ways to learn about high schools. You can go through the directory, you can go through the school's website themselves, or you can go to My Schools. I know a lot of people like having the paper book, but right now with all the changes, My Schools is really the best tool for you to use because they're constantly updating it with new information. So as schools get virtual open houses, as schools update their selection criteria, everything is going to be visible to you through My Schools. So if you have the access to, you should really create your account as soon as possible and go through My Schools out of the 3. It's definitely the most up-to-date resource. They actually post things on there before I even hear about them. So I would try to go through that if you can. So the great thing about it, as I told you, it's live, so it's constantly being updated, and it's also year round. So if there's any 7th grade parents who want to look for high schools, if you are a family with divorced parents and not everybody has access to your account, you can always access the account. Anybody can access to search for schools. So if you don't have an account, what you would do is when you go to the home page, you scroll to the bottom of the screen and it will say browse schools, and you could still browse schools and sort schools and look for different programs all year round, whether or not you have an account. So it's really great, especially during this time when we don't see our family and everything. Okay, so I just want to describe to you the difference between eligibility and priority. So when you're applying to schools, eligibility shows students that can and cannot apply. So that's going to be listed right here in your book. And it's also going to be when you type in any school, it's going to show you the eligibility. This year, they're eliminating eligibility based on districts and catchment areas. So for this one, it says eligibility open to Brooklyn students or residents. So this would only pertain to Brooklyn students this year, not necessarily residents. What's unchanged is going to be eligibility based on boroughs and maybe like disability or accessibility needs. And that's going to be the same as well for the priority groups. So the priority groups show students how they are considered for offers and in what order they're giving offers to. So for example, Maspeth High School always gave the lottery priority to District 24. That is being eliminated this year. And I know a lot of people are upset about that, but they're no longer giving district priority. So they will give priority maybe for Queens residents, maybe it will say New York City residents. I'm really not sure what the priority group is going to be until it opens, but I do know for sure that definitely district area priority has been eliminated this year. So that's definitely going to affect some of us that want to get into Maspeth. Another thing that we need to look at is the seat availability. So when you log into any school, when you search any school on My Schools, it will show you how many seats they have available, how many applicants they have, and basically like a breakdown of how many applicants per seat. Oops, sorry. So this is based on, oh my God, how do I go back? This is based on the numbers from the prior year. So if you look up a school, 48 seats are available, 336 applicants are applying, that averages out to 7 per seat. So anything over 10 is considered a high demand program. So when you're doing your application, you want to make sure you're putting in programs that have low demand, medium, and high. If you put all high demand schools, you might get stuck with no offer. You might have a very hard time getting an offer if they're all high demand schools. New last year, they broke down the numbers with students with disabilities. So they had separate seat numbers listed for the availability for those students. This particular school, the applicants per seat are very close, but some schools, there's a big difference. Some schools might have like 40 applicants per seat for general education and only 10 for students with disabilities. So it might, if your child has an IEP, it might benefit them depending on what school they're applying to. And we'll talk about that more at the end. The city is doing a diversity and admissions initiative. I'm not really going to talk too much on that because it's based primarily on low income students. But if you want to find out more about it, you can go to this website and you can see if your family is eligible. So it's 20 or more schools. If the school has the initiative going, it will tell you when you log into My Schools. And if you want to see if you meet the criteria to apply, you can go to this website right here and see if you can be considered for that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the different admissions methods. When you go into My Schools, it will say admission method down here. So this particular one, you can see my cursor, right, Alex? Or no, can you see this? Okay, so right down here, it says adopt. So I'm going to explain to you the different methods so you know how you're eligible to apply for which schools. So we're going to focus on audition, adopt, and screened. These are all the methods that any school could possibly have, but those are the most common ones. So we're going to go through those right now. Okay, so screened. So screened is usually based on your grades from the 7th grade year. Because of COVID, obviously that's not really the best measure of how a student's performance is. So what they're going to do is look at final course grades from 2018, 2019. So that's the 6th grade year. Then they're going to also look at the course grades from September through February of last year, standardized test scores from 6th grade year. Some schools will be asking for portfolios. Some schools might ask for you to take a test or some other admission method, but whatever their criteria is will be updated on My School. So I'm not really even aware of all the criteria for the different schools at this moment, but once the system opens next week, if you click on a school and it says screened, the admission criteria will be listed at the school. So you'll know exactly what you need to apply. So if you're applying for a screened school, you apply the same way that you would do any other school. You still list the program, and then if additional action is needed, like doing an interview or submitting a portfolio, then you will follow the necessary steps taken that they're posting for you. But it still counts as one of your 12 choices, and it's still like a regular public school, even though the admissions criteria is screened. Does that make sense? So.
Yes.
Okay, then we have adopt. So adopt is the way of the city to get students from all different performance levels. They don't want just the top performing, they don't want just the middle, they don't want just the low. So they want the 3 different areas all combined to one. So what they're doing is they're giving you a composite score based on your grades right here, based on your grades from, again, 6th grade, standardized test scores from 6th grade, and grades from September till February of last year. The composite score that they give you is then characterized into low, middle, or high. You can find out your ed op category when you log into My Schools under your profile account. If you click on profile, it will have your ed op category. So then what they do is they take 1/3 of applicants from the high, 1/3 from the middle, and 1/3 from the low. So if you're ranked high, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have the highest chance of getting into that school. Everybody has an equal amount. So everybody has like 33% of getting into that school. So the category doesn't really affect you. If you're high, you're not at an advantage. Anybody over low, it's just giving you your composite score, and it's just letting you know that you're selected from that category to fulfill like that quota for that level. So anybody can apply to an ed op school, no matter what your grades are. And then, as I said earlier, you want to make sure that when you do your application, you're putting a mix of admission methods. Every year we have students that only put screen schools, and sometimes we have students who don't get a match. So in order to make sure that you have the most likely chance of getting a match, you want to put a wide variety of admission methods. So you want to have schools, definitely strive for the high performing schools, the competitive schools, the ones that have 10 or more applicants per seat, but you also kind of want to make sure you have a safety school on your application as well. Okay, the high school application opens the week of the 19th. They're saying the 19th instead of the 18th because Monday we have no school, and it's the week of. So if you log in on the morning of the 19th and it's not open, don't panic. I know this happened with the middle school applications. Everybody got worried. It will open sometime during that week. The middle school applications were supposed to open this week, and it's Wednesday and they're still not open yet. So I don't know what day they're going to open for high school, but it will be sometime next week. We just don't know the exact day. And once the system opens, you can then start to filter your schools, start to go through your schools and apply. Your application is due on February 23rd. Now you can submit it before that. And if you do, you have the right to change it up until that date. So if you submit it early, you are not getting an advantage over anybody else. All the applications are held in the system, and they are all released on February 24th to the schools. So you have plenty of time to go in and make changes. So it would benefit you to complete the application, submit it so that you know it's done. And then if you want to make any changes, all you do is log into your My Schools account and you hit edit or revise my application, and you can revise it or change it as many times as you want until the 23rd. So that's an important thing. Everybody thinks that if they figure it out, they finish early, that they're going to get a notification earlier than anybody else. It doesn't work like that. Everybody has to apply by the same deadline, and the schools get the notification the same day, everybody at the same time throughout the whole city. So when you create your account, this is what it's going to look like when you log in. This is going to be your dashboard. The student name is going to be down here, and it's going to ask you to choose your notifications. That's something that you should do right away. You can choose to get your notifications by email or by mail. If you did not receive an account creation code letter, I would not opt for the paper mail, because maybe we don't have your correct address, or for whatever reason. But I would try to get your notifications sent to you by email, because not only do you get them sooner, but it's also more reliable. And this is going to be where you get your high school results and any information from the high school. So you have to choose your notifications. After that, you're going to get to a screen that looks like this. So you're going to have your high school application and your specialized high school. They're going to be two different things. If you don't want to take the specialized high school test, then you just leave that area alone. You don't even touch it. For the high school section, you're going to click on the blue button. It will say get started, and it will bring you to the page that looks like this. And then what you're going to do is you're going to search schools, and you could search, if you know the school name, you can filter by subway, you can filter by size of the school, you could filter by sports if your child wants to play a certain sport or they're looking for a certain club. You could type in cosmetology or an area of study. You could type in chess, an interest level, any keyword, and this will sort all the schools for you. Once you find the school, I mean, this is not a live site, so I can't really click on it right now, but once you find the school, you would click on the school and it will list all the programs. So right now, this one only has one program, but if you put in a school like Forest Hills, there would be multiple programs that come up. When you do your application, you can apply to up to 12 programs. So if one school has 3 programs and you apply to 3 of their programs, that counts as 3 out of your 12 choices. So you see each one has a different code. So what you would do is you would click the little star and it will highlight itself in blue, and then that will save it to your favorites, almost like you're shopping, and it will save it to your cart. So right over here will be a list of all the schools in your cart. You could put 50 schools in your cart if you want. You could put an unlimited amount of schools in your cart, but then you have to click add and you're going to bring them over here to which is your application. So you can either click on them and you can drag and drop. You can click add and look at added in. Once they're over here on the right, this is your application. You can then like drag and drop them and change the order. You can do whatever you want to get them in the correct order that you want, but you can only move 12 to your application. Now, you don't have to move 12 if you don't want to. You can apply to only 2 or 3 schools or only 5 schools, but just keep in mind that the more schools you put, the higher chance you have of getting a match. On the other hand, if you put 12 schools and you only like 4 of them and you get into your 5th choice, you can't then turn around and say, no, I don't want to go there anymore. I don't like that school, because you did apply to it. So you want to, it's kind of like a hard balance between finding the amount of the right number, because you want to put enough to guarantee a match, but you also want to put ones that you want to go to. So only apply to schools that you like. If you got a private school match today and you only want to put in like 1 school, that's fine, because you already have another pathway to go. So if you're just looking to see, let me just see my luck in Maspeth lottery, I'm just going to put Maspeth and that's it, that's totally fine. You can do that. But if you're only looking at public schools, I would put as many schools as possible. And then the important thing is make sure you hit submit. So many times people drag the schools to their application and they don't hit submit. So if you don't get an alert like this, it says your application is submitted and it will show like little fireworks. If you don't get that, that means that your application is not submitted. If you're unsure, you just go back to that dashboard page I showed you in the beginning, and right next to public school application, it will say submitted. If it says in progress or pending or anything other than submitted, that means it did not go through. So make sure you definitely get a confirmation like this. It's like if you put things in your Amazon cart, you don't just want to leave it in your cart, you have to complete the whole checkout process. So people think that because they click the star and they saved it, that's them applying. So I just want to emphasize, you really need to make sure that you follow the process all the way through. And then you have to list the order in preference. So you're only going to get 1 offer. So it's very important to rank the schools in the order that you want to go. There's a myth that schools can see the order that you apply. High schools cannot see the order that you put them in. They have no idea. All they get is a notification that you apply to their school. They don't know if they're first or if you're 12th. So you want to put them in the order that's important to you. So you want to put the one you like the most first. Don't think, oh, this one, you know, I know it's really hard to get into, even though I don't like it, I'm going to put it first just to see if I can get in. But my favorite school is choice number 3. You want to make sure that you put your top choice for number 1 and so forth, number 2, number 3, all the way down. What happens is if you're not matched with your first choice, then it keeps going down the list on your application until you get a match. So once the school accepts you and you want them and they want you, you get the match, then your application doesn't go anywhere else. So you're only going to get the 1 offer. If you put your zone school on your application, you will automatically get accepted to your zone school. So zone schools are being honored this year. So if you put your zone school first, if you're zoned for Queens Metro and you just want to put only Queens Metro, that's fine, because you will get a match to them since they're your zone school. If you put Queens Metro first and then you put Townsend Harris number 2, Townsend Harris is never going to be able to give you an offer because your zone school already accepted you. So you have to always put your zone school last, because the application will stop there. So you kind of want to use that as your safety or as your last resort. If you don't like your zone school, you do not have to put your zone school on your application. but that does not mean that you won't get matched to it. So in the past, people have not put their zone school down. And if they only have a few schools on their list, or if they only have very competitive schools, or just, schools that are high demand schools, and they don't get a match, then the city automatically finds a place for you. And most of the time it is a seat at your zone school. So it is possible to get matched to your zone school, even if you don't apply. Now this, starting last year, what they did is there's no longer a round two. In the past, you would be able to do a round two and apply to any schools that are open. Starting last year, they opened up wait lists for schools. I'm going to have a separate webinar about that once results come out, because it's kind of a lengthy explanation. But basically, you can put yourself on a wait list for any school in the city, and the wait lists are live, and you can manage them in real time, and they will go through the whole summer. So if you don't get an offer that you like, you can actually have a second chance of going to some schools. But you can't withdraw your offer unless you get an offer from the wait list. So we'll talk about that more, but ranking and preference and order is definitely crucial to this process. So what makes a balanced application? So you want to put as many programs as you can. The maximum is 12. Not only the high demand programs, a mix of admission methods, and you want to make sure that your child is in the first priority for at least one or more of the schools that you're applying to. And again, only apply to the programs that you want your child to attend. The city put out several videos explaining how to navigate My Schools, explaining how to do the specialized high school test. There's a lot of good ones out there. I posted some in my classroom. If you want to look for more, you can just go to this website right here, and they do offer you tutorials if you wanted to watch your own video. And there are also virtual fairs. So there's 2 more this week, the 14th and 15th. You do have to register in advance. So I tried to go to the one tonight, but I tried to register like this morning, and it was already too late to register. So if you want to go to the one tomorrow, you probably should register right now after this meeting is over. Otherwise, you probably only have access to the 15th. But they're pretty much just going to walk you through My Schools and explain to you in much greater length the application process that I just went through right now. So if you have any more questions, or if I went through it too quickly, definitely go on to one of these virtual sessions and see if they can answer your questions a little more thoroughly. So important dates. So the SHSAT opened up. We had the virtual fairs. The deadline to register for the specialized test is this Friday. And starting next week, the application process will open. You will be notified by email once the process opens. February 23rd is the deadline. March 1st is the deadline to submit any audition files, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And offers are going to be released late spring, early summer. They haven't really given us a release date on the acceptances yet. So when you get an offer, you will get one offer from your 12 choices. The SHSAT, if you apply to that, you can potentially get one offer from there. And LaGuardia, you could potentially get one offer from there. So if you do all 3 pathways, you could get up to 3 offers. If you're just doing your public school ones, then you just have the one offer from your 12 choices. Let's see. Again, they're just advertising the videos. And these are just some. I'm going to leave this up here for a second, just in case anybody wants to take a picture of this page. If you have any additional questions about high schools, auditions, it just gives you some contact information for anybody, especially the student office of student enrollment, their phone number, if you need to contact anybody. How are the questions? Should I go out into the auditions and the SHSAT?
Give me 1 second. I posted the link to the virtual fairs in the chat section.
Oh, thanks a lot. Okay.
Okay, so do you want to answer some questions now, or?
Yeah, maybe we'll just go over some
wanna
really
leave-
quick before we get started.
Perfect.
Yeah, Lisa.
Yeah.
There's a couple of good questions about the specialized high school test.
Okay.
Um,
Oh yeah, I'm reading them right now.
So I checked out I looked at the Q&A. Just, we don't have any information regarding the specialized high school test, except that it's going to be given at school. We're not sure what time it's going to start. There was a very good question someone put about if you haven't given consent yet for testing, for COVID testing, can you still come in? First of all, there will not be COVID testing the day of the specialized high school test, but just in case, it would probably be a good idea just to have consent. I don't anticipate that, a student lacking consent would be given a hard time about coming in for the test. But if your child is remote anyway, it wouldn't be a bad idea to give consent just to cover your bases. But I would state pretty confidently that there will be no COVID testing on the day of that exam, but we don't know what time it starts. Regardless of whether you're blended or full remote, this test will be given in school for all children. So don't worry about that. But as soon as we get information like related to times and things like that, we'll share it with everyone right away.
So I see, is there an appeal process if you don't get accepted? No, there's no appeal process. There's just the waitlist process. And I can explain that more once the results come out. But pretty much once you get your offer, you will be going to that school unless you get an offer from your wait list. Where do we find the group high, medium, and low? So when you go into your dashboard, once the My Schools opens, you'll be able to view your ed app category. What is a catchment area? This one I think is funny because I also asked that question in my training. And it's still not exactly clear to me. I believe, Mr. Carty, maybe you can comment more on it, but I believe it's where the students reside. So I had a hard time distinguishing between where they live and
I would have
the
asked that
borough.
same question. I don't know. I've never even heard the term.
I Googled it. I asked it in my training as well, and it's still not really clear to me. I joined the training again the next day and asked the same question, and I still don't really understand it. But I think it's where you live. So if it says Manhattan residents, it's not honoring residents because that's the geographic location. But if it says Manhattan students or Queens students, that's what they are honoring.
That makes sense. We'll try to get that clarified for you.
Let's see, around what time do we know what high school we get into?
And if you just want to reiterate to parents that we're going to go over the process for special education students afterwards.
Yeah, I'm going to do that in a minute. I just wanted to try to filter out some of these questions. So yes, we're going to have the slides available after the presentation. We're going to post this PowerPoint on the PTA 8th grade classroom and also on my high school classroom. Is there any advantage to having a high ed opt? No, I kind of tried to discuss that earlier. So there's absolutely no advantage. They take 1/3 from high ed opt, 1/3 from middle, and 1/3 from low. So it just kind of tells you where your score falls, but you don't have priority one over the other. And high school results will be sent out at the end of the year, possibly in June, maybe early summer. They haven't given us an exact date yet. Let's see. All right, so I'm just going to go January 19th, and you can apply for schools. Yeah, so the system opens beginning the week of the 19th. So not necessarily the 19th, but the week of the 19th. So sometime next week, you'll get a notification that they're open. I'm just going to go through specialized high school and auditions and students with disabilities real quick, and then we'll take the rest of the questions. Let's see. Okay, so these are all the specialized high schools. The ones that most of our students apply to are Brooklyn Tech, Stuyvesant, and Bronx High School of Science, but these are all of them here. Deadline to register for the test is this Friday. So when you log into your My Schools account, you will see where it says specialized high school application. So you click get started. And what's different this year is that you're going to actually rank the schools on the My Schools account. In the past, you would rank them on your test ticket or on your test itself, but now they're only looking at the order that you rank them in My Schools. So if you only want to go to Stuyvesant, you only put down the number 1. If you're interested in all 8 schools, you would list them in priority list number 1 to 8. But you will only get 1 offer from the specialized high schools. So it's going to pretty much look like this. And again, you're going to have all your favorite ones here, and then you're going to drag them. You're going to add them. Actually, you're going to have your favorite ones here. It's the reverse. And then you're going to click add, and you're going to add them to your application. So you're going to do this before you sit for the exam. So you're going to sign up for the test, and sometime between now and the test, or actually, no, you have to do it by Friday. So you're going to rank them by Friday when you sign up for the test. And there's a video if you need help coming soon. I don't know when it's going to come, and they only have 2 more days, but it's pretty self-explanatory. If anybody has testing accommodations for the test, it will be we will be notified already unless you have a 504 plan. If you have a 504 plan, they're not always in the system because they're just internal through the school. So if your child has a 504 plan, please notify me, and I will make sure that people who are administering the test have a copy of that, and they know what accommodations your child gets. Once you register for the exam, you will get a receipt. On your receipt, if you have any accommodations, they will be listed on the receipt. So if your child gets extra time or any sort of accommodation for a test, it will be listed on the receipt. If it's not, please notify me and let me know, because that means we don't have a record of that for the exam. Test tickets, you're going to be printing out your own test ticket. So once you register, it will say print ticket, and you will print the ticket for the exam. You will need your ticket to enter. I don't know how strict we're going to be with that, since it's given at our school, and we should know all our students, but you do usually need the ticket to enter, and it will tell you the time that the test is given and the arrival time that you have to be there. So again, you don't bubble in your school preference order on the ticket. It's only done in My Schools. And just to let you quickly know about the formats, the test is 180 minutes. If you have extra time, you have 360 minutes with 2 15-minute breaks. And it's 57 multiple choice ELA, 52 math, and 5 grid-in questions. And there are sample tests at this website, and they're also in the book if you picked up the book from the school building. So now I'm just going to talk very quickly about auditions. This year, we're doing all of the auditions virtually. So there's audition submission tool, which I'll tell you about in a minute, but they're making audition programs offers in priority of group order and then in rank order. So this is what you have to do. You're going to register to audition in My School. So just like you clicked SHSAT, you can also register for LaGuardia auditions the same way. Once you do that, you'll be prompted to submit your audition file, and it will say virtual audition submission tool. You need to have a DOE account to do that. So once you click on that, it will ask you for your student account, and you will go your student account email, and you will then proceed to the next screen with that information, and you will submit your audition that way. Any school besides LaGuardia still counts as your 12 choices. So LaGuardia is a specialized school. That does not count as your 12 choices. Any other school like Frank Sinatra, Professional Performing Arts, Talent Unlimited, any school that's not LaGuardia that's requiring auditions counts as one of your 12 choices. And again, here's the link for the submission tool, but it will also prompt you in My Schools to submit your audition at the same time. Let's see, families register in My Schools. The deadlines to register is February 23rd. So you have time to put your audition in. You can go on the LaGuardia website. It will give you examples. If you're doing drama, it will give you sample monologues. And it will give you different tools to help you with your audition, especially dance. It will tell you what they're looking for. So you can click on any like genre on the LaGuardia website, and it will tell you exactly what they're looking for in the audition. And this year there's no tickets, obviously, because you're submitting it yourself online. Auditions take place remotely, submitted by March 1st. So March 1st is the deadline. So I'll put this all on my classroom, and I'll send out reminders when these deadlines come up, but just so that you know. Okay, now just really quick, students with disabilities. So any student that has an IEP, they are allowed to apply to any school in all of New York City. So there's no separate program unless you're looking for a District 75 school. So there's no separate program. Any program that's listed in my schools is open to a student with an IEP. All schools must provide services for students with IEPs. So some schools will have classes already in place, which might draw your interest if you know your child is a self-contained student or an ICT student, or if they have accessibility needs, you can look at programs that are already in place, but schools need to provide services regardless if you are accepted. This is just, based on the seat availability I showed you before. There's a separate breakdown now for general education students with the number of applicants and seats available and students with disabilities. And this is determined by your current IEP. So you can see how your child is classified. If you don't already know, when you go into your profile, it will tell you which classification they have. If you have any questions, you can always just email me and let me know. So I just wanted to go over that really quick before we took some more questions. So let me just get out of this screen share. Okay. All right. So how are we doing with questions?
Okay, so we have 8 questions right now. Did you go over the Discovery program already?
The Discovery program, I don't really have that much information on this year. It's usually by invitation only. Mr. Cardy, have you heard anything additionally about that this year? Maybe he stepped away. The Discovery program is usually, I usually get a list of students who are eligible.
I'm here. I have not. I was reading the chat and I couldn't figure out how to get out of it. No, I have not heard anything about the Discovery program. Sorry.
Yeah, usually I get a list of students who are eligible and I will send out the invitations from there. I have not heard anything about it yet at this time.
Okay, and what are the high, medium, and low offers based on?
Okay, so that's based on this pretty much the same criteria that they're looking at for the screen schools. So it's based on the grades, 6th grade test scores, 6th grade final grade, and 7th grade grade from September until February. So based on those 3 grades, they assign you a composite score. The composite score is then broken down into 3 different categories, low, medium, or high. So that's not done by the school, that's done remotely, like by I guess the enrollment office. And then when you log into your profile, it will tell you if you're low, medium, or high. It really doesn't have any like effect or impact on you whatsoever. It's not like if you're ranked low, schools are not going to look at you. I don't even know if schools have access to view and see what you're in, but I just know that the offers are pulled 1/3 from each group.
Okay, and just to make sure, if she decides to apply for any specialized school, her zone school has to accept her. So I guess the question is, if the child doesn't apply for a specialized school, will their zone school automatically accept her?
So if you don't get an offer into specialized school, I'm a little confused. So the
She doesn't
specialized,
apply.
if you don't apply,
Yeah, so it says, just to make sure that I totally understand, she decides not to apply for any specialized school, will her zone school accept her?
okay, so the zone school is part of your 12 public school choices, and the specialized school is separate. So that's not taking away from your 12 choices. So you don't have to apply to a specialized school. If you do apply and you don't get an offer, that's fine. If you apply and you do get an offer, you can then choose between your public school offer, which is one of the 12, and your specialized one. You'll have to accept one and decline the other. If you put your zone school on your application, the zone school will take you. So if you're applying to both, you might be lucky enough to get a specialized offer and then choose between that offer and your zone school. Or otherwise, if you don't do specialized and you just put your zone school, then your zone school will be taking you. I don't know if I answered that question or not, but.
I think you were pretty. Next question, is there an additional process for applying to BARD, or would it go on this application process?
It would go on the application process. Once they open, they will let you know. In the past, they used to do an entrance exam. So there's two different campuses for BAR. There's one in Manhattan and one in Queens. You would take the test only once, so it's one test for either campus. I'm not sure if they are doing a test this year. We would have to look at their website to find out more. And also, once you list it on your My Schools application, if it's requiring an exam, a little exclamation point will come up and it will tell you, please register for the test. So any school that's requiring a test, a portfolio, an interview, or any additional criteria other than just listing it, it will tell you on My Schools. And once it opens up and you put that school in, it will tell you as soon as you favor it.
Perfect. Can you change your order of specialized high schools after you sign up for the test?
That's a very good question. This is the first year that they're doing it online like that. I would guess no, but I'm not really sure about the answer for that. I think that once registration closes on Friday, that's it. I don't think you'll be able to go back in and edit it. So you could probably, if you sign up now, you could probably go in and edit it before Friday. But once the deadline comes, I would think that you cannot change it after that. Similarly to your public school application. So you can make any changes you want until the deadline, but once the deadline comes, you cannot make any changes after that.
And I believe you went over this, but once you select high school choices on My Schools, can you change the selection at any time before the 23rd, before February 23rd?
Yes, you can. So I always advise people to go through and submit their application, because a lot of times you think you submitted it, then you forget, or time kind of gets away from you, and then before you know it, you realize it's late or you didn't do it. So I would go in and submit it as soon as possible, and then you can go back and you can change it as often as you want up until the deadline.
How do I find out my zone school?
When you log into your My Schools account, if you go to your profile page, it will have your zone school listed. So you would click on like your account settings or your profile. I can't see the screen the same way that you guys can, so it's hard for me to tell you exactly what it looks like, but it usually is under settings or under profile, and then it will come up with your address, your ed-opt ranking, and your zone school will all be listed for you. Not everybody has a zone school, though. That's important for me to tell you. Some people will not have a zone school. And if you don't have a zone school, it's totally fine. It doesn't really mean anything other than that you're just not guaranteed to get into one particular school.
Lisa, I think if you go to the DOE's website under Find a School and you type in your address, it also gives you the zone school.
Okay.
Either way works, but you can do it that way as well.
Okay.
Is there any type of prep that can be done for specialized high school tests?
Well, they have the practice test online. I would just try to do the practice test. I know some of the teachers are really good with answering questions. If your child takes the practice exam and they have a problem with a particular math problem, a lot of times if they ask their teacher to explain how to do it, they can get guidance on how to complete the problem. But the best practice is just taking the practice test over and over and just seeing how you do. And the same thing for the auditions. If you go on to LaGuardia's website, it will tell you what they need for auditions. I would just say practice.
This parent mentioned that when they log onto their account, it only gives them the option to apply for specialized high schools. That might just be a...
Right. So that's because the system hasn't opened yet. So that should be the same case with everybody. If you have that same problem by Friday of next week, please let me know. But by that time, it should be open and the problem should be rectified.
Do letters of recommendation count and when getting into public schools?
Unfortunately not. No, the schools just look at the criteria for the admission methods listed. So if it's the ed-opt, they're looking at that category, they're pulling from that category. If it's an open admissions, they're taking people by lottery, like MassFit. And if it's a screen school, they're looking at the grades that we discussed earlier.
Yeah, just to reiterate that there are no letters of recommendation for public high schools. I've actually reached out to principals of various schools, specialized schools and Townsend Harris zone schools, just to try to see if I could, help a student out. Principals just said, listen, I'd love to help you out, but there's just no way around this process. So it really, unfortunately, like Lisa said, you just got to follow the regular process.
Okay, so now I'm going to go through the chat. There's some questions here. The link for the virtual fair, this parent said that it didn't work for her. I'll blast it out. Lisa, if you want to send me that page
Okay.
with all the different sites, and then I'll also send out the link to everyone.
Okay, I had
for
to
the
actually
virtual
go in and like type it in by hand, but I don't know, it didn't work when I clicked on it either, but when you type it in, it does bring you to the registration page. I was just, I guess I didn't do it early enough for tonight's session, so I would just say if you want, because there's only 2 sessions left, if you want to attend one, I would definitely register it for it tonight.
Okay, perfect. And how accurate is it when IEP students select their first choice?
How accurate is it? Is that what you said?
Yes, like what are the odds of an IEP student selecting a school as their first choice?
I think that's different for each child and each school. So it depends on not only how many applicants proceed for that program, but also the kind of program that they're offering. So if you're looking for, a self-contained program to increase your odds of your child getting accepted, you want to apply to a school that already has a self-contained class in place. If they only have an ICT class in place, it might be harder for your child to get in because they don't have that current placement. But it's also the applicants proceed.
Okay. How do I find out if a child with an IEP qualifies for transportation benefits?
That would, I believe, would already be on their IEP from this year, if I'm not mistaken. So if they're eligible for transportation now, they would be eligible again for next year.
Let me just go back to what happens if I need to change my address? Would that change my zone school?
Yes, it would change your zone school, but so when you create your account, it will ask you for an address, but you can type in any address you want when you create the account. But in order for it to register and actually affect your zone school, you have to provide proof of address to the main office. So you would give Miss Gina, she would let you know the 2 proofs of address. Once she changes the address in our system, then it gets updated on the My Schools account. So it doesn't just get updated because you typed it in, it gets updated, it gets pulled from the system from our school. So you have to make sure it's changed at the school level. That's an important thing. A lot of people think they can just put an address that's zoned for a different school in My Schools, but it has to match the address that we have at the school for it to actually take effect. Oh, thanks. Miss Alex just put Miss Gina's email, so you can contact her, and she will send you on the 2 proofs of documentation needed to do an address. Somebody did ask me if they move, do they still have to apply? If you're moving out of state or out of New York City, I would definitely still apply to the schools. It's better to have an offer and turn it down. You never know what's going to change from now until September. So unless you already have, I don't know, like what is it called? A mortgage and a house somewhere else, I would definitely do the application. And I see someone's asking, how is LaGuardia on any ranking list like the specialized high school? So LaGuardia is separate. They're their own, even though they're a specialized school, they're separate because you don't take a test to get in. So when you go into your dashboard on the top, there'll be different tabs. One will say LaGuardia, one will say specialized high school. So if you want to apply to either one of those, you would click both of those and register for them separately, or you would just do the public school 12 choices.
And someone asked what they can use as proof of address. It can be a rental agreement, a mortgage, anything.
Just
Like
email
it
Miss
could
Linnell.
be on it. Yeah, but you can
Just
email Miss Linnell.
Yeah, it's on the DOE website too. But if you
Yeah, the
contact
papers.
Miss Linnell, she can give you the list.
Thank you.
Mhm.
See. And if anybody thinks of last minute questions after the meeting's over, you can always email me. I know some people might have specific questions about, their child individually, so I can answer any personal questions by email. But I just wanted to try to give you like a general overview tonight of what you had going forward.
So there's one more question. So the non-specialized high schools will look at grades from 6th and 7th grade only, and state tests from 2018 to 2019.
When you go into the My Schools, when you click on the school in the My Schools account, it will tell you what they're looking at. But the screen schools are basing their selections on those those years. Yes. So they use the 8th grade grades to place the students after they get into the school, but to accept them, they usually look at 7th grade grades. In this case, most of the 6th grade grades.
Alex, I'm retyping Miss Linnell's address. I think you have an O instead of an A. Unless I can't see with my glasses.
Sorry. Oops.
That's all right. Just a typo. Just want to, and I just put in a link to the proof of address documents for changing your address. I think
I see a question asking about Beacon. Beacon in the past has done interviews. I'm not sure if they're still going to be doing interviews or if they're going to be doing Zooms or anything live. But again, that will be posted on My Schools once you log in. So the reason why I say My Schools is the best up-to-date information because this directory was published last year. So some of the criteria they have in the directory is not really valid right now. It's nice to be able to page through the book, but if you want to know up-to-date information like that about what the schools are requiring, that will all be in My Schools when it opens. Or you could log onto the school's websites as well, but just most of the websites are not as updated as My Schools will be.
There's a Q&A question that says they will not look at 8th grade grades. They will not. It's based all on 7th, correct, Lisa?
Yes, that's correct, for admission. So they usually will look at 8th grade grades for placement in September, but not for admission. And they're not looking at attendance. So normally the screen schools look at attendance, but they're looking at the grades from 6th grade. And they're not looking at attendance.
Let's not advertise that with the kids, but
Well, from 6th grade, they don't really have control over that now.
Okay, I don't, if anybody has any other questions, they can type it in the chat or in the Q&A. I don't see.
the only thing I want to reiterate, which Lisa, I think you know I do this every time you do these meetings. If you put a high school on your application, your child must be prepared to go to that high school. Every year we have a couple parents that come later and are upset about their placement, and we look at their application and it's on the application. So if you put it on there, understand there's a chance that your child will go to that school. So and there's no getting out of that. So just please, that's important because literally every year we deal with that. So just please be aware of that.
Mhm. And if you hear rumors from other parents or other schools and you have questions, please just email me and ask. So many times people hear things that are not true, or rather you just email me and ask me. Maspeth is not a zone school. That's always a common one. It is a lottery, you know, they don't look at grades. It's random selection from Aspith. And this year, it's probably going to be open to all of Queens equally. And the schools do not see your ranking. I don't care how many people tell you that they do or what you read online or what other parents tell you, but the schools cannot see where you rank them. So if you put a school first or 12th, the school it doesn't hurt you in either way for having them further down on your list. The school doesn't know. It just matters to you, to your student.
So is there a specific time to be at the school for the specialized high school exam? I
We
think
don't know
all
yet.
of that.
Yeah.
So we'll probably get more information about that as it gets closer. And when we hear anything, I know Mr. Carter will probably announce it on the announcements in the morning, but we'll also post that on my Google Classroom. We'll advertise it with 8th grade teachers. We'll put it on the PTA page. So as long as you're online, you're checking and you're checking for updates, you definitely will be getting all the information you need.
And morning announcements, parents, you know, I mean, they are live now every day, you know, at 8:45. They're recorded on Instagram, so I'm not, you know, not that you have to be tuning in at 8:45. But I do share a lot of information. Sometimes I get it right too, right, Alex and Lisa? I do share a lot of information each morning and keep people updated. So it is a good idea to check that, you know, daily. Again, if you can't do it live, it's recorded on either YouTube or on Instagram. So keep an eye on that as well.
So at this time, everybody should have a My Schools account. If you have not created a My Schools account already and you don't have a code, please email me for the code. Letters were sent out by the enrollment office. If you didn't receive one, that probably means that we don't have your correct address on file. So please email me for a code. Make sure you know what email and what password you use to create that account. And once you log in, make sure you go and you select the notifications, because that's going to be how you get all your information going forward. A lot of people created accounts and they forgot their password. Unfortunately, I can't look it up. I don't know which email you used to create the account. The only thing we can do is to contact the enrollment office to fix that. So we want to try to get everybody's account up and running, hopefully by this week. So that way next week when it opens, you can just go in and start the process. So if anybody doesn't have an account or access to their account, please email me and let me know. Anything else? And once the results are sent out and you're able to go into your wait list, you're going to be using your My Schools account again for that. So that's why it's really important to keep your login information somewhere where you're going to remember it, because you're going to be using this account from now on going forward till the end of the year.
Lisa, there is a question about, since my son has an IEP, do I apply regularly, like through the regular process, which yes, you do. But any child that has an IEP, if you need, you know, some assistance with that, just please reach out to us, contact Miss Agrensoni, contact Miss Viglietta. You know, we want to make sure that, you know, we help everybody, but particularly if you're confused, if your child has an IEP, reach out to us. We'll make sure we help you out with that.
Mm-hmm. And I see when you will get results, there's not an exact release date yet. So far, they're just saying at the end of the year or early summer. So I'm hoping that means sometime in June, because I would like to be in school to help everybody with the results. But whenever you do get the results, even if it is over the summer, you can contact me and if you have any questions, but there hasn't been a release date yet.
I think that, oh, there's one here. If I already have, did you get that one? If I already have my school's account, do I need to open a new account with the code from the DOE?
So
I think there's confusion with the
My
My Schools and the student. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's been a common misconception. So there's My Schools and there's My Student. My Student is the account that you've been going into to get the report cards. But My Schools is used just for the process. So if by chance you opened one, actually 5th grade application, they probably wasn't even available yet. So no, you need to have a My Schools account. We're going to post a recording of the webinar on the PTA 8th grade page and also in the high school classroom. Thanks, Jacob.
Yes. All right, I believe we've answered everything. I want to, thank everyone coming on. I want to thank Ms. Agrinsoni, Ms. Viglietta. Folks, if you have questions about the high school process, this is not like the final, we're not ending this and that's it. So please reach out to Ms. Viglietta, Ms. Agrinsoni. If you have to contact me directly, I will probably bounce you to Ms. Viglietta, but you can feel free to do so. We're here to help as much as we can, and don't hesitate to come to us with questions. So I think that's it. I think we'll go ahead and say goodnight. So thanks
Thank
again,
you,
Lisa.
everybody. Have
Thanks,
a good
Alex.
night.
Thanks, everybody, for joining.
Yeah.
And you know where we are if you have questions, okay? Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks.
Night. Bye.